Hi, I'm Dr. Adam Millman. Thank you for watching. Passover and the unfortunate pain that often comes with certainty versus the potential and possibility for prosperity despite uncertainty. And in the story of Passover, we learn about a number of plagues. One of the plagues that I'd like to mention is called the plague of darkness, where it's taught that the Egyptians died during the plague of darkness. But our tradition also teaches us that up to 80% of the Jewish people that were living in the land of Egypt at the time also died in the plague of darkness. Now, why would this be? We're taught that they died during the plague of darkness because they chose not to leave. When the nation, it was determined that these people would choose to stay if given the opportunity of leaving and potentially leaving the land of Egypt, leaving slavery, leaving bondage, and going out and into the wilderness with this leader Moses. They chose to stay in the land as slaves. Now, why would they do this? Why would 80% of the people living as slaves choose to remain as slaves and not go out into the wilderness? Well, maybe in the question implies the answer. Going into the wilderness, going with this new leader, this man Moses that most people were not familiar with. He's leading them into the unknown. And in the unknown, there is danger. There's the possibility to get hurt. So 80% of the people chose to stay as slaves despite the fact that they were slaves, because the slavery at least gave them certainty, predictability. They knew from day to day what would happen. They would get up, they would be slaves, they would eat, they would go to bed, they would get up, they would do the same thing. The certainty, they chose that instead of the possibility of freedom, because the possibility of freedom and change could come with pain. It could come with failure, the unknown, and they chose not to do that. 80% of them, as much as 80% of the people died. And I think in our own lives, we sometimes confront this scenario where we're in an uncomfortable situation, a situation that we don't like. It could be a relationship or a job, and we choose to stay in that situation because of the fear of the unknown. The freedom that might come with leaving the job or leaving the bad relationship could come with the possibility of failure. So I often hear in my clinical practice a lady, a young or elderly lady, that will choose to stay in a bad relationship because at least they know what to expect. They're unhappy in the situation, but if they leave, then they'll be alone. They may lose financial security, housing, a connection with someone, even if it's someone that they don't particularly like, that might even be abusive. They'll stay because if they leave, then this freedom will come with the opportunity for the unknown, and they're unwilling to take that because something worse could happen or something better could happen. Maybe they'll find the person of their dreams, maybe the job of their dreams, but before they do, there will be uncertainty, and they'll choose to stay in they'll choose to stay with the certainty as opposed to choosing the uncertainty that could bring them prosperity but could also bring them short-term pain and maybe long-term pain, but they focus on the fact that the situation is more likely to bring them pain. So they rather stay in a painful situation that they know rather than go to a potentially more painful situation that they're unfamiliar with. Earl Nightingale tells this story that on ancient maps, you would have the Latin phrase hic sunt draconis, meaning there be dragons. If you look at the periphery of some ancient maps or globes, you'll see this written, implying that outside of the known mapped area, because it is unknown, dragons live there. Now, at the time of Columbus, not a single person in the history of humanity had ever seen a dragon. They were mythical creatures. Yet on the maps, it still said there be dragons here in the area of the map that was not mapped. The end of the known area, outside of that, outside of the periphery of the mapped area, would be this expression, there be dragons. And what that seems to imply is that when the information is lacking, when it's an unknown situation, that there is danger there. Now, it could just as easily have said, as Earl Nightingale says, that outside of this known area that is mapped are even greater possibilities, greater opportunities. Humans that look just like us. Outside of that area, there could be greatness, people that could help us, new opportunities, new achievements, new discoveries, a world of opportunity beyond our known area. But the map makers chose to describe that unknown, uncharted territory as something that is scary, where mythical, dangerous creatures would live. And in our own lives, and in the scenario of the Jewish people leaving the land of Egypt, it was thought that what was unknown outside in the wilderness with this man Moses that the situation was too scary, that something bad would happen to them. And outside of the maps in the ancient world, outside of the known area, dragons were there, even though no one had ever seen a dragon. And the message for us is that just because there is uncertainty, you don't have all of the information, you go beyond the map or you leave the land, it doesn't mean that something necessarily bad is going to happen. But we choose not to make the decisions to leave a known situation that may not be the best situation, to go outside of our comfort zone, to explore an area that we've never been to, in uncharted territory, and we choose to look at it as being dangerous, and then we will often choose not to take the chance. We look at a bad relationship that we may find ourselves in and choose not to leave because outside of the relationship is unknown. So better to stay in something bad that you know than to pursue something that is unknown. That could be great, but we focus on the fact that it could also be bad. Outside of the known mapped areas, it said there were dragons, but there weren't dragons. But because it was unknown, it was thought to be scary. But you could just as easily look at it the other way, as a wonderful opportunity. And 80% of the nation of Israel that was living in Egypt in bondage chose to stay in bondage and were killed, the stories tell us, because they chose not to leave. When given the opportunity of freedom, but having to put faith in a God that they have never seen and a man that they didn't know, going into an area that they'd never been to, they chose not to do it because it was just simply too scary. The great possibilities that could come were not focused on. What was focused on was the unknown. And in focusing on the unknown, the implication is that there is going to be danger, and that was simply too much. So let us not make the same mistakes. Just because there is something new that we would like to try, a place we would like to go, a relationship that may be out there, a job opportunity that may be out there, just because we don't have all of the information, it's not well charted, there's uncertainty, that is where the greatness could actually come. Columbus could have chosen to just sail along the coast his entire career, going up and down the coast, but he chose to go to where the dragons supposedly were, to the unknown, to the uncharted territory, and made his voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. And in our own lives, we can do the same thing. Just because we don't have all of the information doesn't mean that that should stop us from pursuing our dreams and for going outside of our comfort zone. And in the short term, there could be pain, there could be suffering, there could be things that we don't like. But in the end, we may achieve something much greater rather than staying in the bosom of certainty where we may never really truly reach our potential. Thank you very much.